Hey guys, it's Ikenna from CNC Labs, and today we're going to be putting together our new dust shoe assembly and doing a bit of a demo. So you can actually see the dust shoe in action here. We're going to just attach our hose and we'll let it run. So you can see it makes cleanup a breeze and it's easy to assemble. So you have your first set of hardware in the first bag and your second set of hardware in the second bag. So you have your dust shoe knobs, your T-nuts, your M5 8s, and your M5 16s, as long as your M5 lock nuts. You have your 2020 aluminum extrusion, your M4 lock nuts, your M4 20s, and your M4 16s. You have your dust shoe arms, your dust shoe plate, your backing plate, your dust shoe bristles, and your vacuum hose adapter. So you'll need an M4, M5 Allen key, as well as an M5 wrench, and a pair of pliers does help. So we're going to grab our dust shoe bristles and we're going to install an M4 lock nut in those two holes. So we'll just need to press them in, and then we're going to line it up with our birch plate and just make sure that everything is lined up, the mounting holes as well as the hose adapter. So we're just going to install our M4 16s in there. So let's press in our M4s and tighten everything down. Alright, everything looks good. We're going to plug in our hose adapter just to make sure everything lines up. We're going to keep it in there just to make sure while things are shifting and we're tightening things down, everything that we need to have lined up is lined up. So we'll install our dust shoe arms, our left and our right. And for those, we're going to need to press in some M4 lock nuts. Right there and there. And same thing on the other side. So the only difference is that we're going to be using M4 16s on one side and M4 20s on the other side. So the side with the dust shoe hose adapter, we're going to be mounting with the M4 20s, and the side without, we're going to be mounting the M4 16. So we'll start with the M4 16s. So while you're tightening it down, you're going to want to make sure that the back of the arm is lining up with the back of the birch plate. Everything looks good. And we're going to remove the hose adapter just because it gets in the way, and we're going to mount the other side. So we're using the M4 20s for this side. And we're just going to tighten them down. Perfect. So we're going to slide back in our hose adapter. Make sure everything fits. Make sure everything's nice and rigid. So now we're going to install our dust shoe knobs with our T-nuts. Now this allows the dust shoe to slide up and down independently of the Z-axis, which lets you use different stock materials because we want to engage our bristles on our material, and so different materials are going to need different heights. So we're just going to tighten those, and we're not going to tighten them too tight because we still need to slide them on the aluminum extrusion. Perfect. So now we're going to install our backing plate. So we're going to need our M5 8mm and our T-nuts. We're going to do the same thing. We're just going to tighten them, not too tight because we still need to slide on the extrusion. We're going to do that for all 4 holes. Now we're just going to slide them on the 2020 aluminum extrusion. Sometimes it can be finicky, but nothing too difficult. Go ahead and do the same to the other side. And now we're just going to line up both sides and then tighten them down with the M5 Allen key. Make sure everything's tight. Make sure the assembly is rigid. And now we're going to slide it onto the dust shoe assembly. So we're going to line up the T-nuts and the dust shoe arms. Sometimes it can be finicky, but like I said before, nothing too difficult. Alright, and we're just going to make sure that the assembly slides, because again, we want that adjustability. Alright, so we can tighten these up. So we're going to be lining these holes up with the Z gantry plate. And it's going to want to go on the back side. It might be easier to remove the dust shoe assembly and just mount the backing plate assembly. Either way, you're going to be using the M5 16s. Lining up the holes and then tightening it up with the M5 lock nuts. So it can be a bit tricky getting on the back side of it, but nothing too difficult. Same thing for the other side. Just use a M5 Allen key and a M5 wrench. And these we're going to want to tighten up nice and tight. We want this assembly to be rigid. Beautiful. We're going to make sure our assembly slides up and down. Awesome. So our hose fits. Super easy to remove. And you can actually remove the whole assembly when you don't want to have it in use. So now we'll actually be demoing the new dust shoe, and once again we're going to lock it down in place with the bristles engaged on our material, hook up our hose, turn on our vacuum, and run our job. So as you can see, it makes cleanup a breeze. So we're running a project. You might recognize him. He's Andy's dog, Louie. If you've been by the office or if you have our stickers, you'll definitely be familiar with him. So this dust shoe, we changed our backing plate to make it easier to mount. Once the project's done, just move it out of the way. You can raise the dust shoe and remove your hose. Super easy cleanup. Awesome. Bye.